Ubisoft Online decommissioning may render 3 games unplayable for people who bought them. What do you mean may render games unplayable? Will render games unplayable. PC Gamer, what are you doing? I love how they don't take this seriously at all. Like if someone at Ubisoft would have made a racist joke, if they would have had a South Park quote, immediately PC Gamer would have been like... But when something like this happens, which really affects the consumer, they're like, oh yeah, well, this happened. Let's move on to other news. Let's see what misogyny we can find in the video game industry. Do you understand what this means, by the way? Do you guys understand what this means? It means that you don't own your games. That these game companies can literally steal the games that you have paid full price for. It's not about the games involved, because right now it's just 3 of them. Space Junkies, DLC for Assassin's Creed, and one more. I mean, whatever. But like, the fact that they can do it goes to show that you do not own anything, and you are happy, aren't you? You are so happy, because I saw people on Twitter defending Ubisoft. It's like, oh, well, you signed a contract. I am so glad that I live in the European Union for once in my life, because here in Europe, we have normal people. That means you can't sign away your consumer rights. Like the nation state, not God, but the nation state, the government decided that I have consumer rights, and they can't do this to me. In other words, you can actually sue. There have been people that sued Steam. I believe there was a case with a Russian. So the Russian, this was 2 years ago, he had the potty mouth, and he said powerful slurs on Steam. And because of that, he got banned, so he lost access to his entire games library. However, the Russian government empowered this man, gave him more power than the Steam Corporation. It was Virgin Gabe Newell versus the Chad Russian user. And what the Russian government does is something very similar to what a lot of European nations do. They have this body called the Consumer Protection Act. Do you understand? Like a group of lawyers with a big hard-on, paid by the taxpayer with nothing to do but to sue corporations. So whenever a company is having these bad thoughts, is having like, oh, how can we mess with the little guy? The lawyers come in, and they're paid by the taxpayer. They're not paid by you, so you don't even have to file a dime. All you do is you complete the paperwork, and you're like, this company was mean to me, wah, and then the lawyer sued the company on your behalf. He won. So Steam actually had to give him back his games. Turns out, if you pay for some shit, you should own it. I know, very controversial. Oh, but you signed the paper. Fuck off. Whose interest are you representing? Are you representing the stockholders at Ubisoft? Are you purchasing Ubisoft stonks and you really care about their profit margins? Or are you a consumer? If you're a consumer, why the fuck are you putting up with this shit? I would use every means available. I would make a pact with the devil. With El Shaitan. I would go to El Shaitan. It's like, please, fuck this company because it's trying to fuck me. So look at this. You know, like apparently if you're on Steam, Silent Hunter 5 is another one of these games. And it says, at the request of the publisher, Silent Hunter 5, Battle of the Atlantic is no longer available on Steam. And this title will not be accessible. Right? So up until now, there have been games that were pulled from Steam. But if you had bought them in time, you could still play them. Now it's different. Now, like, even if you bought the game, you paid full money for it, it's not yours. I know, like, maybe a lot of people don't play these games, but that's besides the fucking point. Now, what really annoys me to no end isn't the fact that there are people who don't care about this, because that's a legitimate position to have. I mean, maybe you don't care about this because you don't play Ubisoft games. Maybe these particular games are too old. Your grandma was in diapers when they came out, so you don't really care. That's fine. That's fine not to care, but what I don't get is that there are people out there who actively go against people like moi. They go against people like moi who point this out and criticize it and say, hey, you know, maybe this is not a good place that the industry is heading to. You are giving way too much power to these corporations that put on product that's addictive to a lot of people, and they can unilaterally decide when they can take that product away. I mean, who's to say if you don't have the proper behavior online, the company can't just take your game away in order to socially engineer people's behavior? I mean, surely that will never happen. That's a conspiracy theory, isn't it? So, luckily, there was a lot of outrage over this. Like, people didn't care about the small noise on Twitter with people like, "Oh, you're just an idiot. You should have read the terms of service. Oh, you can't complain." Okay, those people were told to shut the fuck up. And within hours, Ubisoft issued a new statement. IGN said, the current owners of Assassin's Creed Liberation HD on Steam will still be able to access play or re-download it after it's been decommissioned. Now, people are pointing out that it does sound like backpedaling because other games that were delisted never had this box saying that it's no longer accessible, right? So this is why people actually pointed out that, yes, it's no longer accessible. And by the way, technically they are right. Like, the terms of service does say that the games you have on Steam, you don't actually own. But you pay the same price as if you actually own the game. So if you go to a brick and mortar store and buy a DVD, like we used to, then you own that game, like it is yours. Theoretically speaking, though, because there are some games where you still need to have an online account to play. So, in some instances, you can never own the game. But basically, you know, like, technically, you do own the game if you buy it from a brick and mortar store. But if you buy it on Steam, then you de facto don't own it. Now, again, if you're in Europe, there are different rules and different regulations. So, you can still put legal pressure on these companies to make sure that you're not treated like garbage. But I am very worried. Like, we are moving towards pay-to-have type of system where, you know, like, you can buy a Tesla, but it's not technically yours. You just pay a subscription and, you know, they lend you the car. Or the Airbnb type of renting system where they can ban you from the website and you can stop using it. And I generally don't like this concept of you own nothing and you will be happy. Because it doesn't make me happy. And someone else gets to own it and they're probably more happy than I am. I don't like being not happy. But anyway, right, let me know what you guys think. And tell me if you think this is going to happen again in the future. Like, luckily, there was a significant backlash and Ubisoft immediately backpedaled. So it goes to show that when the gaming community genuinely stands united, we can make magic happen on rare occasions, but it does happen, especially when the left and the right put aside their differences and give the big middle finger to the corporation. Immediately, the corporation goes, oh, okay. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.